those who have the first overall selection, who do you suggest?
I have Le'Veon Bell just slightly over Todd Gurley, but I think if you go Le'Veon, Gurley, David Johnson, Ezekiel Elliott, Antonio Brown, any one of those five, you take it one, I've got no issue with. They're all superstars. But at that level, you have to nitpick a little bit. And Le'Veon Bell, for me, has done it longer, more consistent. Contract year for him. My sense is that the Steelers are going to move on from Le'Veon after this year. So I think they run him into the ground. So I think his usage will be off the charts. I'm a little nervous about some regression from Todd Gurley. Again, I have him at 2. But over the last 10 years, there have been 5 running backs that have scored 19 touchdowns in a season. One of them's Todd Gurley. So we'll see what he does this year. 4 of the previous 5 have scored 8 or less the following year.
Which of the last year's fantasy darlings in Kamara, Fournette, and Kareem Hunt do you think actually has another one of those years?
I think they all do.
All of them.
I have all 3 in my top 10. So, I mean, Kamara is a special player in terms of, like, no player had more big plays per touch
than
Alvin Kamara.
What a home run hitter. It was remarkable. Remarkable.
You know, he's got the
first down every damn touch, it seemed like.
He's an unbelievable player.
Right.
I mean, they got rid of Adrian Peterson because of what they had in Alvin Kamara. That's why Peterson couldn't get on the field in New Orleans, because Sean Payton took a look at what he had in Kamara and was just like, yeah, that guy's not coming off the field.
Right.
So, and with with Ingram suspended for the first 4 games, I think Kamara has a chance to, wait for it, run with the job.
Nice.
And then Kareem Hunt was my last year, my fantasy ride or die last year. So Kareem Hunt's a special player, I believe. And Fournette, listen, the Jags, just the usage they get out of Fournette, they improve their offensive line this year. They're going to run even more. I mean, like, so I have all 3 guys in my top 10.
Who's your sleeper? Who do you like?
God.
People that you think is going to be. I know you knew the question's coming.
Right,
You get it all the time.
Well,
But,
so
I mean,
my fantasy rider died this year, and he's becoming less of a sleeper as we get closer and closer, as Darius Geis.
That's what I thought too.
I love Darius Geis.
I know. He got the first snap of Redskins training camp too.
I
think they're ready to. I'm with you too.
This is a guy that should have been a first-round pick, and whatever. There were rumors swirling about him. And by the way, Washington D.C. loves this kid. Every person I've talked to around the team loves this kid, and people don't realize how run-friendly a Jay Gruden offense is. Last year, if you took Rob Kelly and Samaje Perine, remember the Redskins, who were starting on their offensive line, guys off the street. I mean, they were so beat up. And the whole offense was just a mess. The entire team was injured. And yet last year, they couldn't run the ball. And still, Samaje Perine and Rob Kelly, if you combine them into one player, they would have been tied for 3rd in goal-to-go rushing attempts last year. So now you get Darius Geis, who, in the history of the SEC, of running backs that had at least 400 carries in the SEC, only Bo Jackson has a higher yards per carry average than Darius Geis in the SEC. He averaged 6.5 yards running for LSU with no quarterback. He saw so many 8-man fronts. Like, this guy is just a beast of a talent. He's a better pass catcher than he gets credit for. I think people are worried about Chris Thompson. Look, they want to limit Chris Thompson's role on the field because of his injury history. So Geis is going to catch the ball more than people realize. I love Geis in all formats.
When it's time to go for a defense, who do you think? Who would you take? Who's number one? Who's your number one defense?
I mean, the Jags are my number 1 defense, but I won't get the Jags because the Jags will go like 7th or 9th round, somewhere in there. So will the Rams. We did a study. The last 9 defenses to score 150 fantasy points or more are all separate teams. Like, we've never had one repeat. The last 3 years, the top 9 fantasy defense seasons over the last 9 years, we haven't had one repeat. So the odds are against the Jaguars or the Rams returning the value that it would take to draft them, like in the 7th or 9th round. I'll give you a deep sleeper. Kalen Ballage, rookie running back in Miami, just a massive human being.
But you don't think Kenyon Drake's going to get the lion's share there?
Well, the depth chart came out yesterday and it had Frank Gore and Kenyon Drake both listed as the number 1 starting running backs. I don't think they want Drake to be an every down back. He's a home run hitter, if you will. But if you look at his yards per carry over, and there weren't that many games last year where he got a ton of carries. But if you look at what he does by quarter in terms of yards per carry, he's much better in the first quarter than he is in the fourth quarter. It goes down by quarter. So I think if Miami's looking at that, they're like, hey, here's a guy that's a home run hitter, but let's limit his touches. And they bring in Frank Gore. I just think there's a chance that Ballage, who's basically being undrafted, who's just a big guy who caught some, I think he was misused at Arizona State, but Ballage, who's a big guy, who's a pretty good pass catcher for a big guy, could carve out a fantasy relevant role on that team. Could be their goal line back.
And the running back position. I mean, we just named 15. We didn't even talk about McCaffrey.
Love McCaffrey this year.
Okay, I do too. Or Saquon.
Saquon's going to be a monster.
I guess that's the last thing for you. Where do you
I have him 5. Running back 5.
So
as
you
a
take him a
first-round
pick.
I take him ahead of. I have him ahead of Kamara and Hunt.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.